Welcome, welcome, everybody. How's it going? Spencer Scott, good to see you in the chat. Hey, DC from Santa Monica, good to see you. I'm Dave Schools, founder of Entrepreneur's Handbook, and joining me on stage is editor Stephen Moore.
Welcome, everybody.
Stephen, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How's everyone else?
Great. So everybody, we're excited to welcome you to our community AMA and awards event for Entrepreneur's Handbook. And John Brosio joining us. Hey, John, good to see you. Doing amazing. Great. Just before we get started, you're probably noticing that our third and potentially strongest editor, Amardeep Parmar, is not with us on stage. He actually had a last-minute family emergency before being able to join. So he's not going to make it for this one, but in the next one, he'll for sure make it. So that said, I want to, before we get started, go over a few housekeeping notes and how to get the most out of this event. So one thing I want to call your attention to in this platform is down at the bottom, you'll notice some emoji buttons. Those are emoji reactions. If you click those, they'll go flying across the screen. And it's a fun way to interact and engage and kind of show Stephen and I and others who come on stage how it's going. And so feel free to smash those as much as you want. And here's the thing. We're actually going to, hey, CJ Cornell, good to see you, my friend. We're actually going to do a little competition. The person who does the most, because we can measure this engagement, the person who does the most will receive a free Entrepreneur's Handbook t-shirt. Yeah. So I encourage you to, everybody goes, I encourage you to use the emojis in the bottom. Also, chat messages count towards engagement and the emojis. So let's go from nice. Good job, everyone. All right. We got that out of the way. So second of all, Q&A is open in the bottom of the screen. Do you see that in the bottom right? You'll see that Q&A is open. Go ahead and start adding questions there for Stephen and I. We're going to do Q&A here in about 10 minutes. But for right now, that's open. And you can go ahead and add some questions there. Next, don't be shy in the chat. And this is recorded. So if you have to drop out, you're not able to stay for the whole time, that's okay. We'd love to have you for the whole time, but this is recorded and we'll publish this on our YouTube channel afterwards. And then lastly, let's have some fun. Yeah? What do you think, Stephen?
I was searching for the emoji for that one.
Yep. Here's some. We got the speakers on stage also have some emojis. So yeah, we're ready to have some fun. All right. To start out, I just want to do a quick overview of Entrepreneur's Handbook's mission and vision and kind of why we're here today. Entrepreneur's Handbook is a Medium publication that I started 7 years ago on the Medium platform when Medium first launched. And it started with little to no strategic vision behind it, just as kind of like a place to publish what I was learning about startups and the entrepreneurship world. And its mission has always been the same since the beginning. Entrepreneur's Handbook is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs succeed. That's it. That's our mission, is to help entrepreneurs succeed. The formula and the writers who are watching, you all will recognize this potentially if you've been in the community for a while. But the formula, and it's not really a formula because it's very flexible and open, but what we look for at Entrepreneur's Handbook and kind of the vision for the whole publication and what has allowed us to remain a top publication with Medium over the years is inspirational stories plus practical takeaways. That's hey, Diane from Boston. Sorry, I got distracted by Diane. She's a good friend. Inspirational stories plus practical takeaways. What that means is the inspirational story has to come from a personal perspective, like where you're writing from the first person and you're communicating with readers who you are. We really look for that. The editors of Entrepreneur's Handbook love to see someone not just sharing best practices or a listicle of tips, but their personal story where they've gone through either a wild rags to riches success story or perhaps like a terrible failure experience in the startup world. 9 out of 10 startups don't make it, but we can learn from that. And so that inspirational story, what we really are looking for is that personal narrative tied to a real person who's honest and authentic about their journey in the entrepreneurship world. The second piece of it is practical takeaways. So anybody, if you tell your story, the next step, and this is where the handbook part comes from. I see the emojis, really appreciate the emojis in the bottom. But the handbook part is the educational piece where we're teaching people from our personal experiences how to be entrepreneurs, how to succeed in entrepreneurship, because it's different for everyone, right? Like there's no guarantee, there's no 3-step, or there's no plan that you can follow to guarantee success in the startup world. And that's where when you tell your story and then at the end or throughout it, adding bullet points or a section where you're distilling the lessons, the takeaways to give to the reader, we find that to work really well and be a generous way of writing. So yeah, that's kind of the mission and vision of Entrepreneur's Handbook. And I wanted to, before we transition into the Q&A, again, if someone wants to, just a reminder, the Q&As there, if folks want to drop some questions there, Stephen and I will answer those. But I wanted to thank some folks in the room, writers, editors, and Medium. So really quick, Entrepreneur's Handbook would be nothing without our writers. So DC Poulter, Al Anani, CJ Cornell, John Brosio, Spencer, you all in the chat, Lauren, just really grateful for the work and the time and the contributions that you've made to Entrepreneur's Handbook. You all have done some great work, great stories. You're good writers, and we're super thankful for you all using Entrepreneur's Handbook to share your story, and we look forward to more in the future and how we can support you. Next, I want to thank the editors, Stephen and Amar. You guys rock. You're good at what you do. You help maintain the high standard of editorial quality that Entrepreneur's Handbook has and has come to be known for. So I think between the two of you and Entrepreneur's Handbook is in really good hands. So you guys have done a great job, and more to come on that. Also, Amar, if he was here, I really wanted to give Amar a shout out for the podcast. Who here, if you've listened to Papa CJ saying he's worked with Amar before, he is awesome. If you've not listened to the Entrepreneur's Handbook podcast, Amar has done a beautiful job with it and has had folks like the co-founder of Netflix on the show. He's had Ev Williams. All of us, if you've written for Medium, you probably recognize that name. Ev Williams has been on the podcast. And actually the next CEO of Medium is going to be on the podcast in the coming days. John Brosio says the pod is amazing. Yes, sir. Tony Stubblebine is going to be appearing on the Entrepreneur's Handbook podcast in the next couple of days. So we're super excited about that. Amar's been doing a fantastic job with that. Ian is saying, where do we find this handbook? Stephen just dropped that in the chat. It's entrepreneurshandbook.co. So it's a Medium publication hosted on the Medium platform, but it does have a custom domain. Lastly, I do want to thank Medium. Medium has had, raise your hand or hit the emojis if you've been on Medium for over 2 months, or if you've published a story on Medium. Yeah, Steven's like, I've been there for a while. Yeah, so Medium's been around for a while, and their story is a fascinating one, with the ups and downs and the different ventures and risks that they've taken, the directions they've taken. And I'm super happy since August 2020. There you go, B. I'm super happy to be on the Medium platform because it delivers an audience for you. I'd say the editor is one of the best on the web. Still love writing in Medium. And the team has been really close, at least just speaking personally and with Entrepreneur's Handbook, has just done a great job of listening and working with us as a partner publication. And so we're thrilled to be working with Medium, and they've actually partnered with us on this event. And we'll be helping out with some of the awards we'll be giving out later today. So with that, let's move to the Q&A. And CJ says, how many post their articles behind the paywall and not? It's a great question. We should throw that in the Q&A, CJ. But with that, let's transition over. Stephen, did you have any thoughts or want to share something before we transition to Q&A?
No, you can't really say it better than the founder. So on we go.
Cool. I'm going to set a timer for the next 20 minutes. We'll do Q&A for 20 minutes, and then we'll go to the awards. I'm really excited to recognize some of the top writers of Entrepreneur's Handbook over the last year. So in the Q&A, also, you can upvote questions. So ones that you want us in particular to get to, feel free to upvote, and we'll be sorting by most popular. So with that, first question, CJ, or here's an anonymous one we'll start with. What advice, bring it on stage, what advice would you give to starting writers who want to publish once a week? Stephen, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm quite an inspirational writer, so I go against this lesson, but I would say start content planning. I know a lot of writers who are very consistent don't sit in front of an empty screen waiting for inspiration to strike, which is how I write. So definitely decide what lane you're going to write within and map out some potential topics. And as we've been talking about, it's topics that you can be an authoritative voice on through your own experience.
Yeah. That's a great, I would only add that too, when you're looking for that authority, one piece of advice I give writers is that you are an authority on your own experience. You're the top authority. You're the greatest expert when it comes to your story. And so if you teach or give takeaways, and Joseph Mavericks actually comes to mind as a great example of this. If you teach folks from the lens of your own personal experience, you're able to have that authoritative, not authoritative, but credible voice. Spencer Scott says pain equals authority. Couldn't agree more. In the world of entrepreneurship, pain equals authority. People listen to folks who've gone through it. You know what I'm saying? I think that really applies. We've seen that a lot with Entrepreneur's Handbook. I'm going to jump around because questions are coming through in the chat, and also
I was going to start copying them across, but you can just do that then if you want.
Okay, cool. Let's do. I see Brian's question. Do you have any tips for editors? I've been editor for Mind Cafe since last month, so can use all the feedback out there. First, congrats, Brian, for being an editor of Mind Cafe.
Nice. I know Adrian a wee bit, so I've spoken to Adrian many times.
Nice. Yeah, Stephen, you go. You probably have some thoughts on that.
Depends what tips you want, and I think like we work under Dave, and Dave has a very clear line to follow, which makes editing the gig a lot easier. So I'm not sure what Mind Cafe works towards now, but the more frameworks and the more sort of stringent guidelines you can implement, the better, and that makes your job a lot easier for ticking. Does it cover X, Y, Z? Is it written in the right format? Whatever you're working towards. But I haven't spoken to Adrian in a while, so I'm not sure how Mind Cafe operates these days. But that's what you're wanting. You're wanting your job to be made easier by the guidelines that your publication works towards.
Yeah, I would add onto that just by saying, Brian, with Mind Cafe, what's the vision or the mission of the publication? And to what Stephen said earlier, like picking a lane and being focused and consistent and committed to that pays off over the long run. So with Mind Cafe, I'd probably make that clear and do maybe a call for submissions along those guidelines. And it might be slow at first, but it'll ramp up over time as you get those. And the other piece of this I would recommend as an editor of a Medium publication is don't compromise on quality. Even if it means lower volume of publishing, don't turn into a farm, don't turn into a content mill, but guard your editorial quality very closely and make sure that every piece that comes out is as high quality as possible. That's what works on Medium. That's how you develop a great relationship with Medium as well, because that's what they're looking for at this time, and they have for years now, is editorial quality. So guard it through your guidelines. Okay, Papa CJ, I'm seeing also in the chat, I've been a professional stand-up, and a reminder, folks, to upvote the questions in the Q&A that you want answered most. So I've been a professional stand-up comedian for 18 years and executive coach for 14. I'm writing a series that draws lessons from stand-up comedy, which people can apply in their businesses and professions. Would something like that find a home at Entrepreneur's Handbook? Long and short of it, Papa, yes, in the sense that the business lessons and like money lessons you've learned from being a stand-up comedian, tell your story, but then again, provide those takeaways to other people who may not be comedians, just to open it up a little bit more to that wider audience, and then it will resonate. Stephen, anything you'd add onto that?
No, you took the thought right in my mouth. As long as the lessons aren't solely focused on how to stand up and make jokes, then it's a winner. Because again, it comes from something that you've done as you are the authority on said topic.
Love this one from Eric Angermeyer. What's your 3 top tips to get started writing on Medium? Maybe we can, for mine, let's say 1 is just do it, and disregard low stats at the beginning. Always happens. Like you're always gonna have a story that gets published, and you're gonna be like, nobody saw it, nobody's reading it, it's a failure. Like that sense happens to even like top writers. It's all comparison game. But so just do it and ignore and disregard the low stats would be 1. Go vulnerable. Go like tell a story that's not like every other story, in the sense that it's like a listicle or it's best practices, but like tell your personal story and like be open with people, and be vulnerable. I've seen that work. There's like, if you combine vulnerability with confident writing tone, that's a winning combination on Medium. And then quality, guard your quality in the sense that like no typos, structure it so that it reads well, look at flow, order, cut, like be brief with your writing as well, like be efficient, don't waste readers' time. They'll pick up on that. Those are my tips, at least the ones that come to mind first. What do you think, Stephen?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in, but I saw DC entered the chat, and DC's been a regular writer of late, so just a thanks to him. And he says that we'd admires our work. Thank you very much. I would say experiment right at the start to find what you like writing about. And then once you've found that, stay in that lane and then keep writing. In my early years of Medium, I dropped out for months at times. And it's very hard to pick up your momentum again once it's empty. So whatever you do, just keep writing.
Yeah.
Not every day, just stay consistent, whatever your frequency is.
Yep. I'm looking in the chat, and Spencer Scott says promotion is more important than the writing. Fair. This is a really good point. I will say one of the benefits of Medium is that it does come with an audience built in, and it does take some of that marketing out of once you publish your piece. But in general, when you do write, Spencer's right in the sense that you do have to promote it. You do have to spread it around. You do have to push it. And this is, I've done writing courses and I've had coaching sessions with writers, and a lot of the complaints or writers don't like to do marketing. It's kind of a pattern that I've seen, but it is a bit of the job. I'm curious what others think about that in your careers? Like, how much do you have to push your writing in order for it to take off, kind of thing? So it's a very good point, Spencer. Opening up Q&A. John Brosio, this question is mainly for Dave, but if Stephen has feedback too, I'd love to hear it. Dave, when did you realize you needed to delegate and bring on hire help? Amar and Stephen, as a biz owner, I'm struggling to give up control of my baby. I feel you, John. You're absolutely right in that there is a sense of giving up control of your baby. Thankfully, Amar and Stephen, like cumulatively, have over 80,000 Medium followers. Like, these guys are Medium rock stars. They know the platform. Their credibility follows them, and I'm the lucky one that they want to help with Entrepreneur's Handbook. So like that allows for trust, is like just their resume, I guess you could call it, or their experience takes away that any sort of insecurity I would have on trusting them with my baby. And today I'm over on full-time at Hopin, and that's a whole nother story we could get into, is how Medium and Entrepreneur's Handbook opened the door for me to join at the ground floor, one of the fastest growing companies in the world, Hopin, and had led me to meet the founder and CEO, Johnny Booferhat. So I'm heads down full time at Hopin, and Amar and Stephen are running Entrepreneur's Handbook, and I help out where I can. But they're doing a great job, and best decision I've made is to find skilled editors like them to run Entrepreneur's Handbook while I'm focused on other business ventures. And John, you probably can relate to that. Like many of us in the room, I bet, have multiple ventures that you're thinking about. But great question. Thank you. I'll mark that as answered. And checking in on chat, Ron saying, how important is it to write? How is it to only write about one topic versus writing about different topics, but more frequently? It's a good question. Stephen, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I fall into not necessarily one topic. It depends how you define topic. But for example, topic could just be crypto, but then stay within that entire topic. I think obviously, and I know from other people's experiences, that if you go too niche, you can basically burn yourself out just writing about the same thing. So don't define topic as something that's too small, but within that, there should be enough to keep writing, and more importantly, make it exciting for yourself. I think it's important that when someone clicks on your profile, they know what they're going to get from you.
Yeah.
Which is why I think the experimenting is fine in the beginning, but then you've got to find what you like writing about.
Totally. It's a super good and kind of challenging point, but someone who's done a good job of being able to write about multiple topics, but still under their personal brand, is Nat Eliason. Have you guys heard of Nat Eliason? Great Twitter presence, but he's been able to jump around, and hit the emojis too. Like, give me a thumbs up in the emojis if you've heard of him. Check out Nat Eliason. He's someone who's been able to write about just the widest variety of topics, but all under his personal brand at nateliason.com. And I think the reason why it works is that what's the consistent through line between those topics are, he's a fantastic writer, and writing is thinking. I forget who said that, but writing is a reflection of how you think. And the way he thinks is just so methodical, thorough, easy to grasp, and well structured. And he applies that to all the topics he's covered, from health to alcohol to crypto to writing to business to building a tea shop in Austin, Texas. Like, highly recommend. I will write his name in the chat. I actually interviewed him as one of my early Medium articles. All right, next up. Thanks, Franz. Franz just put his Twitter handle in the chat. Thank you for that. Opening Q&A. Is there a way to remove the question text pop-up that's covering Dave's face? Yeah, there is. There is a way to do that. An honest question. Let's see. Let's look at Ian. Question about money. How much money do the top writers make on the Medium platform? Stephen, should we say how much we've made in 1 month? Like what's been our top earnings month? Should we say that? We don't have to. I'm just like,
I'm not as high as anywhere near as high as the top earners.
yeah.
I think my highest month's been $2,000, somewhere around there.
$2,000. Yeah, I've had some months where they're like multiple, and this was years past. So the platform has changed, like dramatically evolved over the years with volume and how they run the partner program. But I've had some months where it's been $6,000 to $8,000 coming from Medium, and that's from me personally as a writer, not as an editor of a publication. Diane, it was probably 3-4 years ago, so not recently. Yeah.
If you remember, at one point they started saying in the emails how much people were earning. They stopped doing it, but the top earner once hit 50 grand. And I think that made them completely change their business model, because now the money's trying to be spread out further and not as high up the chain.
Yeah. There's like the distribution of funds. I know they're always trying to figure that out, but some writers like just made enormous amounts of money. Diane, your question, what do you earn now? So now I earn about $60 a month. So it does oscillate. I'm also not writing as much as I used to, but it's there. The Medium Partner Program does still pay people today. And in fact, our award winners today, we're going to recognize in a few minutes, they'll be getting an additional $100 added to their Medium Partner Program earnings. And that's Medium's support of this event. So yay. Opening up Q&A, answer this question. And anonymous question. This is an interesting one, Stephen, that we should talk about. I am terrible at spelling, but does that make the writing feel more real or rookie? I think this is a good question, and Stephen, curious of your thoughts on it, because I think there's a line between editorial quality, which is generous to the reader, or like what's best from a reader's experience, like say New York Times, like all the publications that are known today for having that good reading experience. But then you have to check that with authenticity and thoughtfulness and like quality of the content. So writing is kind of more on the surface, and the content is the meat, or like what matters more, I would say. But you don't want your writing to be so bad that it's a pain to read, and then people miss the content because it's too bothersome or low quality to read. So I'd say you need kind of both, but err on the side of authenticity and depth of thought and quality of content over spelling, grammatical correctness, and word count. So, Stephen, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you obviously no typos in spelling, in headlines, subtitles, opening lines, because I think if you could see that on a feed, that's not going to do you any favors.
Yeah.
So I think that up top has to be very tidy, regardless of how good your spelling is. So I think readers are very quick to make an opinion on what they're about to read.
Yeah. Franz is asking, how did you grow Entrepreneur's Handbook in the beginning? In the beginning stages, it was, like I said at the beginning, not very strategic, in the sense that it was just a place to hold my articles around entrepreneurship and startups from my own personal journey, like what I was learning and and some of the interviews, like some of the people, the entrepreneurs I was interviewing and talking to. For example, I don't know if anyone hit the emojis in the bottom if you've seen the article that I wrote, I sat down with a millionaire who operates 10 businesses while sailing around the world with his family. This is what he said. That article put me on the map, like put Entrepreneur's Handbook on the map. It trended multiple times into the top 5 of Medium in separate occasions. Business Insider picked it up, Quartz picked it up, Inc. magazine picked it up, and several others. But that's like what I call the Medium effect, is that you can have an article that just goes wild and gets picked up off platform. And that still happens today. And I think you're going to see that in some of our award winners today. And so in growing Entrepreneur's Handbook in the beginning, it was a dedication. Like I was just heads down, focused on writing my story. And then, oh, we're coming up on time. Let's add a couple more minutes. We're at 12, we're at 36. So added 2 more minutes. Yeah, just focus on the craft. Focus on staying high quality in your storytelling and being authentic in what you're talking about. And then time, just add time and it will take off. Like it's a bit of a numbers game. Steven, I don't know if you agree on this, but dedication, like high quality and dedication over time, it's just a matter of time before something pops. That's been a lot of my experience as a writer online.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you'll learn better that way, you know. You take your time and actually, as you say, learn to write and not just try and rush your way through to the end result. You'll be a much better writer.
Yeah, like there's no hacks. There's no, like if you're trying the marketing aspect or hacks or like aggressive CTAs, A, Medium penalizes that because that's lower quality. And B, there's no shortcuts to high quality writing, for better or for worse.
I was looking for the crying emoji, but there is no crying emoji to put on the screen.
There's no crying emoji, yeah. Ian asks a good question. How long would you say it takes to write an article? I seem to be a very slow writer. It's a good question. What do you think, Stephen?
It's completely person dependent, I think. I think, as I was saying earlier, because I write when I feel quite inspired, I'm a fast writer. I probably only take a couple hours. And then obviously I'll come back to it and do the editing, etc. But I know other people it can take days. I think it's totally dependent on just how you work.
Yep.
I think you can practice to get better at it. But like I was saying earlier, if you've got content mapped out for you, that's half the battle already.
Yeah, that's kind of in line with what John is saying. Creating a template outline helps. When a page is pre-formed, it helps fill in the lines. Yeah, an outline, 100%. DC saying 2-3 hours to write an article, another 1-2 hours for second draft the next day, another 30 minutes for. He's got a method here. We got a method writer here.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool, DC. And then Spencer saying,
answer.
I've only ever written one article in my entire life, and it took me 30 days. It's funny.
That is a wee bit slow, but used to their own.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for your questions. If we didn't get to your questions, we're going to transition over to the awards. And just a couple notes before we get started. For our award winners, we'll see if you're in the room, we'll invite you on stage. It's optional. You don't have to, but we'd love to see you. And if you want to talk about the piece or yourself, that would be great. And these awards, again, are sponsored by Medium. So they're supporting these awards as well, which is very cool. And with that, I'm going to share my screen. And I have a little deck for presenting our awards. How we doing? Everybody ready to meet some winners? I'm very excited about this, and I think we'll keep doing this in the future. Bye, Diane. Good to see you. So here we go. We've got 7 awards. We've got a Power Writer Award. And circle it on screen. We've got Most Creative Award, Crypto winner, and then 3 Editor's Choice Awards. one for each of the editors. We've chosen a favorite between myself, Stephen, and Amar, and then an overall winner of best story. So with that, we'll go to the first one. First one we're going to be handing out is the power writer. So this is the person who's written the most, who's contributed and just powered with a ton of content that they've provided for Entrepreneur's Handbook over the last year. And let's get a drum roll. You guys can use the emojis at the bottom. Remember that all the emojis at the bottom and chat messages are tracked. Most engaged viewer or attendee in the room is going to get a free Entrepreneur's Handbook t-shirt. Yeah. Great. The winner is Rachel Greenberg. Rachel, congratulations. Phenomenal job. Rachel has published 82 stories she's published 82 stories in Entrepreneur's Handbook since August 2021. Thinking about that, sometimes that's 2 a week, right?
Yeah.
If my math's correct. But Rachel, thank you for using and choosing Entrepreneur's Handbook to be the place where you publish your story and your work. So we're very thankful and happy for you. All right, next up, our most creative award is, drum roll. Let's see, and I don't think Rachel's in the room. Just quick check. She's not. Most creative award is Joseph Mavericks, and this is the story that was selected as most creative. So Joseph is creative for 2 reasons. He's winning this. Franz says Rachel is probably out writing. Yeah, exactly. But Joseph, what Joseph you do best is you write a story and then you create data visuals to go along with it. That helps the content just go over really well. And so creative from a data visuals perspective. And then also, I think just the concept, and this is just a fun idea, is if you can't buy it twice, don't buy it. That's kind of one of the principles in this story. It's fascinating. Like if you can't buy something twice, so like he gives the example of a $4,000 TV. If you can't afford to buy that TV twice, maybe you can't afford it. And that applies to like, maybe it's a house, maybe it's a car. But I thought that was just really practical. And that's what works on Entrepreneur's Handbook. So great job, Joseph, for winning most creative for Entrepreneur's Handbook. All right, next. Crypto winner. So earlier this year, we launched Crypto Handbook, and it focuses on content that unpacks the complicated world of the cryptocurrency industry. And so for our crypto winner, it is, drum roll, Arthur Hayes. Stephen, you want to talk about Arthur?
Yeah, I think if anyone's read his work, it's very unique. You can see just by the little meme card that's sticking out the bottom there. Very individual style. But as we've been speaking about earlier, the guy had been in crypto from the start, made money from crypto, is well respected in the space. And so therefore his work carries authority. But the interesting thing with Arthur is all his articles are very, very long. We've had some track higher than 35, 40 minutes. But when we go into the data, his read ratios are much higher than standard. I'd say you're talking 50, 60% read ratios for things that are very long. And that just tells you that he's a very good writer. He's very engaging. I was just saying today before we came on, his last one has like a 5-minute story about playing squash at the start. And before I realized it, I was learning crypto through squash. It's just very unique. I think if anyone wants to get into that space, he is one of the writers to be sort of inspired by.
Yep. It's funny in the stats that we see whenever Arthur publishes in Crypto Handbook, the minutes read, it's astonishing. It just like skyrockets. where like he has these 34-minute, long form pieces, and people devour them. So congratulations.
I think to touch on what Spencer asked earlier, he's good at promo. His Twitter's very active, and we actually see that reflected in the stats and the external sources. It's always the highest source of traffic for him. So if you can utilize Twitter, there is something there.
All right. For our first Editor's Choice Award, this is Steven's pick. So you can see the editor in the top left corner, but this is Steven's pick. So our first Editor's Choice Award goes to, drum roll. See hands, see emojis in the bottom. It is Lauren K. Steven, do you want to unpack
I think
choice?
We've kind of almost touched on everything that's made me choose this story. I think it's authentic because it's the story of our startup. It's very vulnerable, as you can sort of get from the title, and it's what me and Amar find can lack from a bad submission. It just doesn't have the I in it, and that's very relatable. Oh, we see someone's popped up.
Looks like Lauren's in the room. Lauren, are you able to join us here?
Yeah, hi. Just had a baby.
Who's this?
This is Lila. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a very fun email to receive. This is like my first meeting in the past few weeks. And yeah, I worked on this piece for a while. It lived in my head for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just so grateful to receive your email yesterday, Stephen, but also when I published this, it was actually, I submitted it to one publication. I was gonna submit it to your publication, but I'd never written for you before, and I'm an impatient person. So I submitted it to another one, got rejected, and almost deleted the piece. No one read it for about a day, and I felt disgusted and like it was just awful and embarrassing. And then you all reached out to me and published it, and that really meant so much. So thank you.
I think it did super well. No, it's like stat wise, I think it did very well.
Yeah, I mean it
did
the most read thing that I've ever written. So in the end, but I think just a good reminder for all writers, like you can publish something amazing and people not reading it does not mean anything. It's very, very hard to stand out on Medium. But B, sometimes it just takes a while for someone to find your piece.
Very cool. Well, Lauren, congratulations, and super happy for you. And Lila, right?
Yep.
Congratulations on the new baby. Keep writing. If the world needs your voice, and obviously we'd love to publish it with Entrepreneur's Handbook. But congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up. That was super special. That just made my day. So thank you, Lauren and Lila. Editor's Choice. Here's my pick. My pick is, and Lauren says thank you. Very welcome. My pick is Spencer Scott for his story spending $280,000 on MicroAcquire. I think Spencer's in the house here. So Spencer, I'm going to shoot you an invite to bring you up. Here it comes. And let me talk a little bit about why we chose this story, or why I chose this story. Spencer, your voice in this story was just as real as it gets. I think it shows people. There he is. How are you, Spencer?
Good. I gelled my hair for this.
Right. Let me keep going, and then we'll ask you about this story and about you. But just like it may not have been perfect from like an editorial writer's like English degree perspective, and that's totally fine. Like in the world of entrepreneurs, people listen to authenticity and to like your true voice. When that shines through and you tell the story, like the bumps, the bruises, the successes, and the transparency in it, that's what wins. That's what does really well. We want to see more of that in Entrepreneur's Handbook. So thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Tell us a little bit about the piece.
Man, so you probably thought it took me like 30 days to write that. It was kind of one of those things where like, and by the way, this is the only thing I've ever posted on the internet, not counting my Twitter feed. And so I don't know, I bought the company and then I was like, I should probably document this while it's still fresh. And that's kind of where it came from, where it was like, oh yeah, this part sucked. And I think I had just gotten done like listening to Sam Barr talk about like he just writes like he would talk. And I was like, I'm gonna try it. And I tried to write like I would talk. And this is literally the only thing I've ever posted. And then like I've met some crazy people. This is like the only thing I've ever posted on the internet. And like the amount of stuff that kind of came through on it was nuts. But there was no draft. You probably noticed this, Dave. This was the first time I ever posted anything. I just wrote it and then pushed submit. There was no draft. I didn't even proofread it. Dave like messaged me. He goes, "Hey, do you mind if we fix some of the grammar change?" Like I was like, "What are you talking about? There's bad spelling in there." And like, there was like a bunch of highlights. I go, "Oh yeah, it's actually like feathered with bad writing." And so they made some changes on that. I think the only reason it even did decent, and I don't know what decent is, but like I posted it on Reddit and Indie Hackers and Twitter, and basically just started posting it everywhere. And then, it just kind of took off from there, and I was able to meet some cool people. And I'm probably going to try and start writing more because it's been kind of an ego boost.
Do it, man. I mean, you're kind of building in public, as it were, and like we would love more. So maybe this needs a follow up, like how it's going.
Yeah, I think I've been asked a couple of times on a follow up, so I'll have to do that.
Let's do it. All right, I'm looking at time.
Awesome.
We do got to keep
Thanks.
going. Thank you, Spencer.
See ya.
Congrats.
I think just before we go, I actually think his story was good for us as an editorial team too, because I remember us chatting about it, and we were chatting about how hard to go on editing and where his voice would be within that. And I think we made the call to leave it more like his own voice.
Yeah.
Just clear it up.
Yeah, brought up a debate like what does high quality mean in writing? And I think that's going to differ a little bit for the publication, for the platform in general. But yeah, Spencer gave us something to chat about as an editorial team. It was interesting. Okay, for Amar's choice, the third Editor's Choice Award goes to, drum roll, Alex Yelenevych. And Amar is not here due to, if you didn't catch it, due to a family emergency. He had to drop suddenly, and we miss him. But Amar's choice, Stephen, do you want to maybe unpack why this is such a great piece?
Yeah, I think from what we spoke about with Amar, that it's the fact that it's merging current events with the personal experience, and we don't actually get too many people writing about what's happening in the world right this minute. And I believe Alex has employees in Ukraine. He might even have put his whole company in Ukraine. And then they had the dilemma of whether to stay or leave. So you're getting a very harrowing story, and also discreetly getting business lessons within that. And it's a nice example of how to write on current events, but still fit within our framework.
Yep. Perfect.
Worth a read if you haven't read it.
Just looking at time. The last one and the winner overall. So this story, we worked with Medium's data science team to pull metrics on these stories. And this is the story that won the most claps, won the most responses, and won the most views in Entrepreneur's Handbook. So this is our last and final award. And so we're super excited and humbled and privileged to be able to recognize the winner of the Best Story Award is Michael Lynn. And so deserves lots of confetti and emojis. So great job, Michael Lynn, on this story. I think the number's just like over 430,000, claps, and just like got picked up by Business Insider, like all the big pubs across the web. And it's a phenomenal story. And we were very happy to publish it. So Michael is in the house. Michael, I'm going to send you an invite to bring you up on stage. Just sent, and we'd love to meet you and hear about this story. And sent, just in case. There he is. Hey, Michael.
Hey, everyone.
Good to meet you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you based? Like, what? Tell us the background on this story.
Yeah, so I'm based in Palo Alto, California, and basically I quit this job last year, and then I took a break, and then this year I decided just to go all in on entrepreneurship and just building my own brand and just start writing on the internet. And so I tried a lot of other things, like even micro acquire. I tried building startups and all that, and then I decided to just try just telling my story instead and try to build an audience. And so every sentence in that story is true. Like I was there for 4 years, and despite like everyone telling me not to leave, my parents they still tell people to this day that I still work there. I wrote the story because I just wanted to help save some people some of the pain that I went through, where I was trying to transition to a product manager role, and I basically failed to do so. And I thought that the whole time that something was wrong with me. And looking back, I realized that sometimes like things are out of your control, and it was due to a structural issue where Netflix just doesn't have a process in place to support these kinds of transitions. So I just wanted to say, if I could save one other person like 2 years of their lives, to save them the pain that I went through when I was just going from department to department, like networking and talking to as many people as possible. If I could save them that pain, then I felt like this story was worth it. And clearly it resonated on the internet. So
amazing. That is exactly what we look for at Entrepreneur's Handbook. Like the fact that you wrote that with the idea of helping someone else who's potentially in the same scenario as you were is exactly, like, it's very practical. It's very real. And I think, let me ask you one more question, then I'll let you go. How's it going today? So you jumped in with 2 feet. What are you doing?
Yeah, so 100%. I have zero regrets leaving. I was 100% certain it was the right decision. By the way, this story actually kicked off my engineering consulting business, and because I just started getting so many like emails and questions about like engineering career advice and such. So then I started building that into like just a coaching program, and then I started building that into like larger scale consulting projects for like larger startups. And that's going well. Like I'm able to close much larger deals because of the articles like this. And I'm also building a course right now called Brand Building for Engineers, where I try to tell people that it's better to just try to build an audience and just don't devote too much time into coding and stuff, which I think a lot of engineers, that's a mistake a lot of engineers make. And building a course on that right now as well. So I just do the consulting and the course right now. Brilliant.
It's so amazing to see this kind of kickstart and change the trajectory of your life. Like it's cool that it had that impact. So it's really good job, phenomenal work. We're just delighted that we could publish it in Entrepreneur's Handbook. And Spencer Scott is yelling from the chat, marketing, like he's doing it. This is a perfect example of what we look for. And you're just in a success story, and you should feel really good about the work you've done. So congratulations, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say, end on an example that shows you the benefit of what writing can do for you. Couldn't have said that much better.
Exactly. So we've got a minute left in our time together, and I just wanted to show. What did you all think? Was this fun? Was this worth it? If it was worth it, hit the emojis, throw in chat, send us some messages. Should we do it again? I'd love to do this again. I think we should do more awards and more community AMAs. We'll get Amar on here next time. Love Amar's voice. So yeah, thank you all for coming. There's the recording will be published on YouTube, so we'll share this around. And then follow us on Twitter if to stay in touch. Send us messages. Stephen, Amar, and myself are available. And more time for Q&A. Ian, yep, definitely, we'll do that. But thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Stephen. Enjoyed doing this, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.
All right, thank you.